Hi, everybody. Mr. Ekman here, high school English teacher in his 16th year of teaching in Northern Virginia. I'm also a parent of three amazing daughters. One of my grave concerns about the state of education in America is how often politicians and other people with their own agendas are pitting teachers versus parents, right? In this outrage over parent rights. And for their own political agenda to try to control education, what happens in schools, they found it easiest to pit parents versus teachers. Instead of teachers and parents coming together for the common good and the benefit of education, the betterment of your students, we're pitted against each other. One thing that I hear commonly from outraged parents is that teachers are indoctrinating their kids, that they need to have control over the curriculum, what books are in the classroom, and they need to control teachers because of indoctrination. And I honestly think that's a crappy myth, that it's fear-mongering, and it is frankly insulting and ridiculous to me as a teacher. Let's be real for a second. If I were indoctrinating secondary school kids, right? Because that's my experience. I can't speak for anybody else. And I know it's isolated to my Northern Virginia, Fairfax County experience. But if I were effective at indoctrinating your children, that was my goal, there'd be a cup of hot Dunkin' Donuts coffee, French vanilla swirl, cream, no sugar, sitting on my desk every day of the week. Self-serving, I know, but that's not reality. So let's get closer to reality. If I were actually indoctrinating teenagers and effective at it, I would never have to tell a teenager ever again to pull up their pants, take their AirPods out, or put their cell phone away. But is that reality? No, it's not reality. And I guarantee you, nearly every secondary teacher in America would agree with me on that. And maybe even some elementary school teachers. And lastly, let's get serious for a moment. I spent 15 glorious years in Fairfax County teaching at Thomas Edison High School in Alexandria, Virginia. As a high school English teacher, I taught film studies and IB film studies. I taught English 9 honors, 19 taught, 10 standard, 10 honors, 11 honors, IB, 12 honors, 12 team taught it all. Now, going to have you take a moment and get out your phone, open up your map application or Google Maps, Google Earth even. And what I want you to do is look up Thomas Edison High School, Alexandria, Virginia, in the Kingstown neighborhood. And I want you to get that up on your map. I'll give you a couple seconds to go ahead and do that. Thomas Edison High School on the corner of Franconia and Van Dorn. And once you look it up on the map, I want you to go right across South Van Dorn Street and see what it shows you on the map. Because here's what you're going to find. Right across the street from Thomas Edison High School, you're going to find a Mormon temple. Now, this is not a criticism of Mormons at all. No way, no how. But here's reality. In 15 years at Thomas Edison High School and teaching those various levels of English, I taught a lot of Mormon children. And you know what never happened in those 15 years? Not once did one of those Mormon children come up to me and say, you know, Mr. Ekman, thank God you taught me Fences by August Wilson, or Marjane Satrapi's Persepolis, or Romeo and Juliet by Shakespeare, or Trevor Noah's Born a Crime. Thank God you taught me that. I've seen the light. I'm going to give up being Mormon. Thank God you showed me various perspectives on understanding poetry or nonfiction article or literature. Thank God I'm going to give up being Mormon now. Thank God I took your class. Never happened once. You know what reality is? No matter what text I taught, what poem, what fiction, what nonfiction, those Mormons graduated and turned 18 or turned 18 and graduated. A couple went to BYU. But you know what the majority of them did? They went on their 2-year mission per the traditions of their faith. That's the reality. And for that matter, for all the Muslim students that I taught in 15 years at Edison, Not one of them stopped being Muslim because they took my English class and were exposed to a variety of points of view, a variety of critiques, and a variety of pieces of literature. They didn't read it and go, you know what? Again, I read August Wilson's Fences and I'm not going to be a Muslim anymore. I'm not going to celebrate Ramadan. I'm not going to pray 5 times a day. Yeah, no, never happened. You're not going to find one. Good luck finding one Muslim student that I taught that stopped being Muslim because they took my class. So why do you think it is that the Mormon students didn't stop being Mormon and the Muslim students didn't stop being Muslim because of what they read in my class? Why do you think that is? Here's my hypothesis, if you will. It's because their parent, guardians, or parents established values with those children when they were young, established what they believed as a family. And then those values were supported by their faith community. Their identity was formed and shaped partly by that community. Now, I'm not saying every kid needs to have a faith community. They need a community that supports the values of the family. And that helps form their identity. They need to have curiosity. They need to be able to ask questions about those values and about the religious faith, or not faith, as the case may be. I mean, again, First Amendment, we have the right to believe what we want to believe. But they were able to question it and have those questions answered, like, why do we believe this? What do we value? And it helped form their identities. And they weren't going to sacrifice that because of a book they read. That's reality. Now, I'll finish this video by saying 2 important things. Fairfax County Public Schools have 2 policies that I think every secondary system in the country needs to have, that I, as a parent first and a teacher second, fully abide by and agree with. The first is this. At the beginning of the year, I, as an English teacher, have to give my parents a syllabus. And on that syllabus, it tells them what texts I'm going to be teaching, what books, nonfiction, fiction, whatever it might be. Book of poetry, autobiography. And that parent can look at those lists of books and say, nah, no thanks. I don't want my kid exposed to that one book, and I don't want them reading it. Now, no matter what I think as a teacher, I cannot overrule the parent. You know what I have to do as a teacher in Fairfax County Public Schools? I have to find another text that is comparable. I can't say, hey, I disagree with your parents. You're reading Crime and Punishment. You know what else I can't do? I can't kick the kid out in the hallway and say, all right, you're reading this other book while the rest of the class is reading something else that your parents don't want you exposed to. Because that's inherently unfair. That's making a kid a pariah based on parental choice. And that's not fair to the kid. I have to teach them the same knowledge, skills, and abilities that I'm teaching the other kids with the other text. And I believe that to be fair. And every parent has that right to opt out. But they don't get to overrule other parents who have the parental right to opt in. Now, the other policy that Fairfax County Public Schools has for secondary schools is that there's no such thing as universally approved book or play or autobiography. Doesn't exist. So, for instance, I taught August Wilson's Fences for 15 years at Edison. Wonderful, wonderful play by one of America's most prolific playwrights that represents the African-American community and the African-American experience in America. But now I'm at a different high school. I can't just walk in on day one and say, oh, you don't have it in the book room, but I have copies, so I'm teaching this. It's not a thing. I have to get the play approved at my new school. And to do so, I have to find other English teachers willing to read the play and say it's okay. But here's the kicker. I also have to find parents at my new school willing to read the play and willing to sign paperwork that says they're okay with the content in the play or book or whatever new thing I might want to teach. We have to have parent buy-in before I can teach the text. And I'm perfectly okay with that. That's perfectly reasonable that I have to have parent buy-in to the content of the text I'm teaching. Right? That's how we get parents and teachers to come together and look at the curriculum and look at what's acceptable. And again, I believe every school system, if they don't have those 2 policies, especially for English teachers, they need to have those because that's how we get parent buy-in into the classroom. Again, just my 2 cents.